us, and I don't want to speak on all our behalves, but yeah, I am. It's important to us because we are claiming this identity. This is not a title, it's an identity. Okay? I want us to write that down or note it in your brain. Take a mental note that when we say Israelite, we're not talking about a title.
By identity, do you mean like ethnicity or religion?
We're going to get into that.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get into that. That's a good question. Because
Father.
title has religious connotation to it. Like a title, right? If I say I'm a pope, that's a title, right? If I say I'm a bishop, that's a title. You know, if I say I am a Christian, that's a title, and it has somewhat of an identity, right? But in reality, when you say that, or when we say that we're Israelites, we are talking about not a title, but an identity in that we relate to what you call ethnicity and spirituality. So yes, when I say I'm an Israelite, I'm associated with an ethnicity and the spirituality that's connected to the ethnicity. That's what I mean when I say I'm an Israelite. I want that to mean the same thing for every Israelite.
Yeah.
Regardless of their and this is the problem that we're having right now.
Yeah.
For some reason, color, can you see this right? Barely. I'll back it up. Can you see it now? Yes. Okay. So, regardless of color, we're talking about adopting or taking on a particular set of customs, norms, whatever you want to, whatever words you want to use to describe what it means to be an Israelite. This is a cultural, ethnic, spiritual, combination that we're taking on regardless of race or color. And I'm not saying that these people, the Israelites, biologically don't exist and that don't matter. What I'm saying is when you come to the truth of who Israel's Messiah or Savior is, this becomes less important.
Yeah.
And what you're actually doing, what you believe and what you're practicing becomes more important. Am I making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we're going to talk about today is what does it mean to be an Israelite? Again, this word is not a title. Like I don't walk around going, I'm an Israelite like I would go around years ago saying I'm a Christian. It's like a title that I wore. Yes, it had a level of identity to it, meaning I was saying, in essence, I was saying I'm a follower of Jesus. But of course, that following Jesus, it had a particular way or brand in that. It wasn't just I'm a follower of Jesus, that's it. I'm a follower of Jesus, and I also believe that, whatever brand of Christianity or whatever denomination that I was affiliated with, that is what I would also promote. So I'll promote Jesus Christ and my denomination's brand. Am I making sense what I'm saying?
So
right?
Baptist or Methodist?
Well, whatever the denomination was, I'm a Christian and a Baptist. So I'm a Christian and I'm a non-denomination, just which means I'm a part of a denomination who don't claim a denomination, and so it's a denomination within itself. So anyway, I'm not going to make this complicated. I wanted us to get out of our minds, if we do have any thoughts in our minds, that this is a title, because it's not. It's actually a ethnic
Just a new black mark upstairs.
I'll just use the blue. Alright, so that's what it means to be an Israelite. It's ethnic, cultural, which is kind of similar words, and it's an ethnic, cultural, spiritual reality. Is that the best way to describe what it means to be an Israelite? Somebody's asked you, why aren't you saying you're Christian? Yeah, well, let me just be specific. I don't hate Christians. I'm not anti-Christian. I'm not saying all Christians are bad. I'm not talking about your personal religious title. I'm talking about what I believe to be my identity, which is an ethnic, cultural, spiritual reality in the person of Let's go over it again. So I'm going to walk this thing so slow, it's going to be slow, super slow. To be an Israelite means to have an ethnic, cultural, spiritual identity or reality in the person of Yeshua Messiah. That's what it means to be an Israelite.
Yep.
That's what it means to be an Israelite. I please want y'all to understand this. Please understand this.
So basically how you live?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yes, I like that. How you live.
They live in your moral code.
Yes, the moral code comes from the ethnic cultural norms which we find in the Torah or the writings of Moses. So our cultural, ethnic, spiritual identity is found in the person of Yeshua or Jesus, and how we get our cultural norms and how we live and practice is based on the writings, based on this. The Bible, as they call it, the book. We call it Tanakh, which is a Hebrew word for all of the ancient writings of the Hebrews. Tanakh includes the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of what we call the Bible, the prophets, the history of Israel, or the Hebrew Israelites. We consider that Tanakh is just a catch-all word for all those books. So basically the Old Testament writings. This is what it means to be an Israelite. If you don't have Yeshua as the Messiah of Israel, then you're not an Israelite. Ryan, if Yeshua is not the king of these people, but you're claiming to be these people without faith in him, you're not an Israelite.
Right.
No other way to describe that. At least that's what I would like for this congregation or fellowship to believe. All right? So, any questions before we move forward? Any questions? Timon, what does it mean to be an Israelite so far?
It's not a title. It's not based on color, but it's based on your ethnic, cultural, spiritual reality in Yeshua Messiah. And we follow what's in the Torah.
Wow. So could you explain that to somebody else? If they was to ask you, girl, you seem just like you always set apart from everybody else. Are you a Christian?
I don't utilize that as my title. Like, I don't identify that as a title. I am an Israelite woman.
What does that mean?
Right.
It means that I follow. Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Cultural, ethics, spiritual identity is in Yeshua, and the layout for how we should live is in the Torah. That's how she has it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
I understand what we mean when we say cultural and spiritual, but what do we mean when we say ethnic? Because I always think about ethnic as being like a specific group of people.
It is. And it doesn't necessarily include race.
And it does not have to include race, okay?
Yeah, race doesn't define culture. Because I'm black, and you black, right? But you may not like collard greens and cornbread like I like collard greens and cornbread. Because your southern culture will teach you that that's what you like. You might like grits, but I don't like grits. I like cream of wheat.
There's a plain white people like us.
I like cream of wheat. You know what I'm saying? Grits. What's grits? Hush puppies. What's hush puppies? No, we don't eat hush puppies.
I got chopped cheese for
We
you.
eat cheddar biscuits. We eat baked cheddar biscuits. You see what I'm saying? Culture and ethnicity is not defined by race. That's what society has kind of taught us as a people to believe. But that's why color has nothing to do with ethnicity and culture. Okay. You ask a Caucasian young man who's sagging his pants and can rap better than me, is he a part of the hip hop culture? And he be like, what you think, fool? And I can go, but you white. And he better bust around on me like, bam, 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 bam. Like, bro, you more black than I am. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not about color. It's about culture and ethnicity. Culture dictates how we behave, what we believe, what we do. Am I making sense what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with
I guess
race.
then I would just try to figure out, so what is the difference between cultural and ethnic? Where's the difference between the
They're actually synonymous.
They're synonymous.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said.
It sounds like you're saying culture defines ethnicity.
Well, let's define the words. Look, Google it.
Yeah,
We
but
got phones at work. Just go ahead and define. Yeah, no, I'm saying when you look at ethnicity or ethnic and culture, it's the same.
Okay.
It's similar words.
Okay.
Similar words. There is some nuance in it, but it's still similar. I kind of use words to hone in on a point. So I may use synonyms when I'm saying something, but it's really the same thing.
Okay.
All right.
So if somebody define ethnic, then somebody define culture.
Well, ethnicity is the fact or state of belonging to a social group that has a common national or cultural tradition.
Okay. Somebody define culture.
Culture says the arts and other manifestation of human intellectual achievement are regarded collectively. The custom, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. Biology, yes, the cultivation of bacteria, tissue cells, etc., in an artificial medium containing nutrients. And then the fourth definition is the cultivation of plants.
Okay, so let's use a biblical example to define what we're saying.
Right.
All right. So when the Israelites left Egypt, right, under the leadership of Moses, they were leaving, and they were people of particular ethnic, cultural, and spiritual reality, but they also a race of people, right? They were a race of people. They came from a particular lineage, which was Abraham's, right? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. But who else went with them when they left Egypt?
Outside.
There was a mixed multitude, the scripture says. There was a mixed multitude of other races that left with them, right? But those races, when they adopted the cultural, ethnic identity of Israel, they became
Israelite.
Israel. Is that not scripture example? If the mixed multitude of other races went with them, what was required of them to become Israelites? They had to be circumcised. Is that not a cultural, ethnic, spiritual identity for Israelites?
It is.
So race, mixed multitude, let me just say mixed races. And we know we're saying mixed races. It could have been Egyptians, Canaanites. In the land of Canaan had several different tribes. But if you was a citizen or a slave in Egypt and you left with the Israelites, what do y'all say to these mixed multitudes? You all can be a part of Israel if you take on the ethnic, cultural, spiritual realities of Israel. Is that not in essence what we read in the scriptures in Exodus 19?
Yeah.
So are we good so far on this, on what it means to be, just the basis of what it means to be an Israelite?
Yes.
All right, good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read something that I sent to Marquita back in March, I believe it was, in reference to what it means to be an Israelite, because I wanted to reassure Marquita as she was, kind of hearing out what Electra was saying about what was going on here at my home, why I wasn't a Black Hebrew Israelite. Because let's just keep it real. When people hear the term Israelite or anything surrounding Hebrew, the first thing is going to be associated with me, because I happen to be black, is that, oh, you must be a Black Hebrew Israelite, which means you want 5 wives, and you want to be able to smoke weed, and you want to be able to, all the negative things that kind of have attached itself to this faith. We now have a responsibility as the true Hebrew Israelites or Israelites to debunk these myths or these lies and truly represent what it means to be an Israelite. Because there's a lot of confusion going on as to that term Israelite or Hebrew Israelite, particularly within the black community.
Yes.
Particularly within the black community. And when you have these self-professed Black Hebrewites on the corner of Simpson Road and up in Chicago and up in Arizona and New York and all parts of major, urban centers going, white people gonna be my slave, and we the 12 tribes and the Indians the tribes and this the tribe, and then they got this chart and they got horns on this white image of who's supposed to be and all this rhetoric that they're spitting out there, right? And now they are the YouTube masters. They have a plethora of YouTube videos that's just put their whole stupidity on display. Here's stupidity on display, and now we represent all of Israel in this, in these videos, which is not true. It's not true. Mm-hmm. We are true Israel, and we're going to be able to debunk this misconception and these lies through our teaching and other scriptures. Okay, so let me
So white girl that scared you?
Say it again?
So white girl that scared you?
Yeah, kind of surprised me. I didn't expect to see it like this.
What is mayonnaise doing?
Hey, we're not Black Hebrew Israelites over here. We're Israelites.
I don't know how to make it bigger.
Anyway, so let me read this. I had it on my phone, but my daughter's on the phone. Marquita,
I have it pulled up.
oh, I knew Marquita's gonna pull up. Marquita, can you please read my email to you in reference to what it means to be an Israelite?
Okay.
Can you do that for me?
Okay, I'll begin kind of halfway through. I don't profess to be an expert in what has been coined the Hebrew roots movement. Mm-hmm. What I can assure you is that I do not adhere to the erroneous and damnable teachings of the so-called Black Hebrew Israelis. Okay. I am convinced by God's grace and purpose, those true believers will grow in the knowledge and wisdom of Jesus Christ. However, the question remains, who is Jesus Christ? I know that after 2,000 years, the question seems rhetorical, but is it? Do you and I know the Jesus of the Scriptures, or do we know the Jesus of religious indoctrination? I would like to explore the Scriptures with as many who are willing to rediscover the Messiah. My faith in Jesus came with religious baggage, and then you talk about Pentecostalism. Do you want me to continue?
No, you can skip all that.
Okay. I have decided that enough is enough. I have cast off the lens that has skewed my vision of Messiah. I am now learning to see him for who he is and not for who the various Christian sects have told me he is. I invite you to do the same. It is time to ask questions and to seek out the truth for ourselves. This is my ultimate goal.
Yep, I think that's pretty much what I said. And then I also sent you another email saying, what does it mean to be an Israelite?
Okay.
And if you can
read that.
Yes,
I'll read that one.
So that was my intentions when I sent that email to her. I want y'all to read that because I want y'all to hear the dialogue, because I don't want you to think that I presented to her anything other than what I'm saying today. In other words, I didn't come with her. Did I come at you with 400 years of slavery?
No.
Did I say to you that somehow we are the biblical people because of that marking? No, what I said is what I meant in that particular email right there. And then I go on in another correspondence to explain to her what it means to be an Israelite. Okay.
What is the Israelite faith? What does it mean to be an Israelite? An Israelite is one who believes in Yahuwah Elohim, the same Elohim who made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We believe the covenant made with the Hebrew Israelite forefathers accumulate in Yahuwah's relationship with the descendants of Jacob, affectionately called Israel. Under the leadership of Moses, Yahuwah delivers Israel out of Egypt and literally creates a new way of life for his covenant people.
Can you pause right there for a minute?
Yes.
Literally creates a way of life. Literally creates a way of life. That's when we're talking about ethnicity, culture, and spiritual, okay? Y'all following me so far? Still ain't know. Any questions so far? Yes, no? You good?
Just open up the rest of them.
I'm glad you're trying to light it up in here because it did get kind of dark.
Yeah, it's about to rain outside, so I'll just open this up. It shouldn't blind us since we got cloudy weather. All right. So, do you understand why I'm saying ethnic, cultural, spiritual realities? Because Yah created this, right? And ultimately, what was Israel supposed to do with this?
Spread it.
Spread it with the other cultures and worlds, other races,
to other nations.
Other nations.
Right.
So this has always been true about what an Israelite is. All right, let's keep going, Marquita.
The special relationship between Yahuwah and Israel is defined by the promise that Yahuwah will be Israel's Elohim and Israel will be his people. In preparation for their entry into Canaan, Yahuwah, through Moses, gave Israel his laws and commandments. The revelation of Torah, or Yahuwah's laws, identified Israel as Yahuwah's chosen people.
Stop right there if you don't mind.
Okay.
Has that changed today?
Mm-mm.
Has this in any way changed?
No.
If you're bearing this name and this identity, then this is still important, just as he is important. But he's more important than this. And I say that because this cannot save us, but he can. All right, let's just make the emphasis. All right, go ahead, Marquis.
The observance of Torah was designed to set Israel apart from the surrounding nations. Israelites hold to the belief that Yahuwah's instructions or laws, statutes, and covenants are just as relevant today as when they were first announced to our forefathers. Therefore,
I'm going to stop you from time to time.
Okay.
Is it okay for us to call the Israelites of ancient times our forefathers?
Yeah,
Is that permissible?
I say that.
Why is it permissible?
Because of who they represented. Since they're Israel, and we're Israel, they in a way represented us at that time period.
Mm-hmm.
So because of our connection spiritually to them, and to some of us, physically to them, that makes us their forefathers, because everything that they did, is a reflection of us as well.
And
With
us them.
And us them. So it's humanity hasn't changed as far as its need for, instruction, and them acting that the way they did, as far as separating from God and coming back.
Mm-hmm.
That is us till this day.
But what about the blood part?
What about the
what I'm saying is it okay for us to have an identity with the men and women who received the first covenant on Mount Sinai? Can we identify with those people if we don't know the bloodline?
Yeah.
If we can't trace our bloodline back to them?
Yeah.
Yes.
You say yes?
Because it's more than just blood.
It's more than just blood?
Right. It's a ethnic, cultural, spiritual reality.
It's about faith.
Okay.
Right, because Abraham is our father.
there's
So
a blood component too.
It is?
One of my favorite passages to kind of remind me of what it means to be an Israelite is in Romans chapter 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about how we have the circumcision of the heart.
Mhm.
It's not just of our flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a blood component with, now we have the circumcision of our heart, whereas they had the circumcision of their flesh, which would be a blood covenant.
And we're gonna get into it. So I'm glad I'm just asking these questions now, because what we need to do as true Israelites is to establish sound
Well,
doctrine.
yeah, and covenant means cut. And
Yes,
so
barit, which
blood,
means to
there
cut.
has to be blood.
Mhm. So what I'm saying is, what I'm doing with us is I'm establishing this understanding that we might have doctrine. So in other words, once we are finished with this, I'm going to write it out again and I'm going to give it to y'all as doctrine. If they all understand what I mean.
right.
So there'll be no confusion about what we believe.
Yes.
What we believe. Not what others believe, but what this little fellowship believes.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're missing right now.
Yes.
It's assumed that you and I believe the same thing. It's assumed me and DeMichael believe the same thing. No more assumptions. We're eliminating assumptions, and we're now going to get down to the nuts and bolts of what we truly believe. Nail that down according to the scriptures and move on with our fellowship, that it truly may grow. Because as long as there's assumptions, this won't grow. We'll constantly have to stop, pause, and filter and decipher and go, okay, yeah, we understand, you don't agree, so go on. You know what I'm saying? But after we do this, there should be no more confusion about what it means to be an Israelite. And it shouldn't be no color or racial overtones to hinder that or cause a divisiveness that's unnecessary if we're all saying we're Israel. You hear what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So whether it's an Indian person up in here, a Caucasian person up in here, a bunch of black people up in here, or some mixed race people up in here, it doesn't matter about the race, because we're all claiming to be this according to the ethnic, cultural, spiritual realities in Yeshua. Now, are there some historical things that we can discuss concerning who the black people are in this country? Absolutely we can. And does that fit within our narrative? Absolutely it can. But it cannot be the emphasis of what we say we believe. You can't do it. acceptable. It's not consistent with the Spirit. It's not consistent with what the Ruach brought people together to do as far as send this out to the world to bring them back to this, and not Christianity, not Islam, not whatever other religion is out there. This is a spiritual reality that has nothing to do with the title. Am I making sense, or am I talking too fast?
Makes sense.
Okay, let's continue, Marquita.
Therefore, we continue to observe the Hebrew calendar, Sabbaths, the holy convocations, and special feasts. Unfortunately, our forefathers rejected Torah and rebelled against their Elohim. After repeated calls through the prophets for repentance and true faith, we should add true prophets, for repentance and true faith,
Right.
Yahuwah unleashed upon rebellious Israel the curses written in the law. Both houses of Israel and Judah were subsequently led into captivity. Israel was conquered by Assyria, and Judah was subdued by Babylon. Even though the ancient Hebrew Israelites were exiled from their promised land, Yahuwah is faithful to his covenant people. After the prophetic 70 years of captivity was fulfilled, Yahuwah permitted the tribes Judah and Benjamin to return from exile.
Okay, stop right there.
Okay.
Does anybody have a problem with what was just said, what I just communicated to Marquita a couple of months ago?
No.
Theologically speaking. I'm talking about as far as the truth of scriptures. Does anybody have a problem with it? Okay. So, with that being said, I want to give us some scriptural reference to why we can tie ourselves to the ancient Hebrews of Mount Sinai covenant. All right? Let's do that real quick, and then we'll let her finish. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 10. 1 Corinthians, and I'm going to write it down here so we can have it on the board. Okay. I may be wrong in 2 Corinthians, but y'all just let me get there first, and I can tell you whether or not I'm right or wrong. Because I always get things construed. Yes, it's 1 Corinthians 10, so I'm right. I don't have it construed. I'm gonna write down here 1 Corinthians 10 so we can see how we connect to them. 1 Corinthians 10. What does it say, verse number 1? Who wants to read that?
1 Corinthians 10 and 1.
1, yes.
You go ahead.
Go ahead, brother.
It says, moreover, brethren, I do not want you to be unaware that all our fathers were under the cloud.
Stop right there. What did he say? I want you to know, brothers, that all of our who?
Fathers.
Who are the fathers?
The forefathers.
The ones who received the Mount Sinai covenant. That's how we know we can relate to them, because we know that Saul or Paul is not talking to a purely Hebrew congregation. He's not speaking. You're right. So we have a what? Mixed multitude or race of people who are all submitted to who? Yeshua, right?
Yeah.
Who is the King of Israel, not the King of Christianity. I will emphasize that point, because he's not a king of religion. He's a king of a people, a particular and peculiar people, according to scriptures. The peculiar people bearing the name Israel. This is a name. Like a name gives you identity.
Right.
Micah the Great. Micah the Great is giving your son identity.
That's right.
I'm Micah and I'm great.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying? Please, let's not get this confused with religion. That's why Paul can associate these Gentiles and these first century Israelites to the forefathers of the Mount Sinai covenant. Read it again, brother, so we can move on.
Start over?
Yes, please.
Moreover, brethren, I do not want you to be unaware that all our fathers were under the cloud, all passed through the sea.
Keep reading.
All were baptized into Moses in the cloud and the sea. All ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink. For they drank of the spiritual rock that followed them, the rock of Christ. But with most of them, God was not well pleased, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness.
So our forefathers, as I wrote to Marquita, they did not keep covenant with Yah. And we know this historically to be true. I'm not saying anything that hadn't already been written. I'm only repeating so that Marquita can understand my train of thought theologically. So she'll know without any question in her mind, what does Chris believe? Is he on that Black Hebrew Israelite Kush where he just ramping and raving about how he the chosen person and nobody else can be it but me because I came on slave ships and the transatlantic slave trade and so that's gonna lead this young lady, this precious young soul right here to be my slave one day because I'm gonna get some get back when Messiah come. Boy, I'm gonna get my get back. This ain't about getting no get back. This is about getting back to identifying with the salvation that is offered through Yeshua. It's only get back we go. If anybody deserves any get back, it's everybody on the planet. Because all are guilty before Yahweh of transgressing his Torah. Am I saying that y'all doesn't want justice in the earth? Am I saying y'all don't want righteousness amongst the races? Absolutely he does. But that's the job of Israel. So what I'm seeking to do as an Israelite is to reconcile. Bring reconciliation. Not separation.
Unity.
But sometimes you gotta tell the truth. No, all the time you gotta tell the truth to get things right. So do I need to expose the lie that's created by Europeans? Absolutely I am. But does that mean I hate Europeans? No. Does that mean they're gonna be my slave? No. Just because I'm telling the truth don't make nobody my slave.
Is that what the Black Hebrew Israelites believe?
Yes.
You don't know?
You haven't seen that crazy on TV?
There's so many different camps.
There's white people are devils and all that. More like
They're Edomites. Even though they came out of the same womb, they're Edomites. Anyway, we're not going to get lost because I don't lose track. We are here. We have read 1 Corinthians 10. This is how we associate with them. 1 Corinthians 10. Let's finish reading. 6.
Dang it. What?
Verse 6.
Now these things, man, voice, raspy. Now these things became our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted, and do not become idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. Nor let us commit sexual immorality, my bad. Nor let us commit sexual immorality, as some of them did, and in one day 23,000 fell.
And you can end at 9.
Nor let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed by serpents.
Or you can finish with 10 and we're done. Or no, 11. Finish at 11. I promise we're done. 11.
Nor complain, as some of them also complained, and were destroyed by the destroyer. Now all these things happened to them as examples, and they were written for our admonition.
Admonishment or admonition.
Admonition, upon whom the end of the ages have come.
The end of the ages has come on who?